smiling's one of those weird things where I think can be done in such a manner that it's quite unsettling, and that seems to be what was going on there.
Yeah, she's got the smile of a guy who just fathered 1,100 kids.
Hold hands and close your eyes. It's midnight, and you're listening to the Ghost Story Guys.
Welcome to the Ghost Story Guys. I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Paul Bestall.
This is the show where we talk about spooks, specters, and all the other things watching us from the shadows beyond the campfire. Some conversations only make sense after the sun has set, and this is most definitely one. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode number 221, and we're coming to you from that tiny mountain cabin you dream about, but can never quite reach. Paul, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. It's been intriguing this week. I've discovered a new show that I either watched a long time ago and have forgotten about, but I've just been binging this show called National Park Mysteries.
I'm into it just on the basis of the name.
There's a lot of crap in it, but you
It is
can
a
glean
paranormal
some
TV show.
delights. Absolutely, absolutely. It's one of the few ones I've ever seen Noah Torres turn up on, which was quite odd. Christopher O'Brien's also on it, so they had some good input from people. But if there's one thing you do on a show is put forward an incident and then say, nobody knows. Because as soon as you tell me nobody knows, I think that might be bollocks. Because each show features a different national park from around the US and Canada, right? So this one was about the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. And 2001, a couple were found dead on top of a lava flow, like obviously not a flowing one, but obviously one that cooled down and become one of those wonderful magma pathways that they have around that area. And both of them were found dead, laid down, burnt to crisps, but their clothing was completely intact. Their hair was fine. They had no serious damage to anything other than they were both dead and they both looked like they'd been burnt, but they were laid on an inactive former lava flow. And so as they're talking about this, they said yes, and nobody knew what had ever happened to them. And I was thinking, right, okay. So this is a volcano national park, and they're both dead, and they've been burnt because they were both obviously wearing t-shirt and shorts, and they were like lobsters. They were bright red, both of them. Because they very kindly decided to show some pictures without any warning, which was nice of them.
Christ.
I love it when a TV show does that. And even for somebody like me that would consider themselves to have a sterner stomach than most, I still like to be warned.
Yeah.
And so I thought, right, I'm going to find out what happened here. And so I've dug into it, and it was worked out pretty quickly what had happened to them. But I'd never heard of this, so because they kind of just tried to make it more mysterious than it sounded. We don't know what happened, and I've not been able to find it in the reports because this was like from 2001. They both been hit by a giant ball of boiling steam that had come from somewhere.
God.
They're not sure if a fissure had broken through and just sprayed it up or whatever. And essentially, internally and externally, they'd been cooked alive. And I'd never heard of that on a volcano.
You've told me a lot of fucked up stuff on this show, Paul Damien Bestel. That might be the most fucked up thing of all.
But they were there, just perfect. But like I said, they were just bright red. And it was only when they did the autopsy they could see that all their internal organs had essentially been boiled.
Good Lord. What a horrible... I hope it was fast.
We would hope. But I've never come across that phenomena.
No.
In a volcano that's not attached to a thermatic spring system like Yellowstone, perhaps, or that you see in Iceland with your geysers. So I don't know. I'm digging into that. But I just thought it was... It's frustrating because this program has obviously been made in the last 10 years. These people died in 2001. The autopsy happened in 2001. It's not a mystery. That phenomena is more mysterious to me than leaving it saying, and we do not know what happened.
Yeah, who are they? David Paulides? Just leaving shit out to keep the mystery intact?
Strangely, he does turn up in a later episode.
Of course he does.
Talking about, and then it rained. In January, what a mystery.
Never happens in the national parks.
Especially in winter.
I tell you, I look back at the time I was super into Missing 411 in the same way I look back at when I had a girlfriend who made chainmail and I used to sell it with her at farmers markets. It's just that same sheepish, like, oh, Christ. Well, that was a thing I did when I was younger and dumber.
Yeah, that's true. We all go through phases of gullibility. But that's what growth's about, Brennan. It's being able to look back and think, if I knew me then, I'd punch myself in the face.
True. Very true. Speaking of gullibility, I've actually started watching Beyond Skinwalker Ranch after hearing was it Stu Neville and Ruth Morris talk about it on your show. They were pretty critical of most paranormal shows, but they said that one's not bad. So I've just started watching it, and I got to say I don't hate it. So watch this space. It's the only endorsement I'm going to give a paranormal TV show. But yeah, so far, don't hate it. Cautious thumbs sideways.
Oh, right, okay. You could also watch, there was another particular episode of the National Parks Mysteries series where basically you got two people lying about a made-up phenomenon.
Oh, Christ.
Which was amazing. Because they started talking about Lemurians, of course.
Oh, boy.
And obviously one person was telling us all about the Lemurians and their history and where they live under the mountain and all this. And then this other nutter just turned up. Yeah, well, they're demons. They're demons. That's what they are. They're not aliens or human. They're demons. And I thought, never have I thought that two people from the opposite sides of a paranormal situation are both wankers. But they were. And I just thought the goal of two people to lie about something with such conviction, but then also develop these kind of opposite opinions about a made-up phenomena was astounding. I've never seen anything like it.
If anything is going to convince me to learn more about Warhammer 40K, it's this, so I can then enter these conversations and see if I can just get Space Marines into the general conversation about anything paranormal. Doesn't matter what it is.
So yes.
Very cool. Well, before we get into this episode, in which we'll be talking about the hauntings of the Canadian city of Montreal, which has a very special place in my heart, and also some strange glitches, which feels appropriate given that Montreal is a very liminal city. It's got a lot of underground tunnels because it does get so very cold, and it has a really great metro system. But of course, that lends itself also to underground brutalist tunnels. And so I think it's fitting we have all these accompanying, for every story we have an accompanying glitch story. But before we get there, I just want to tell you quickly about this kind of funny thing that happened. So last night, I went out to go take some photos. But before I went, I had to go gas up the car. And when I went into the Shell station to prepay, the clerk behind the counter said to me, "Do you like my new hairdo?" I do not know this man. I have never met him before in my entire life. But he had a new hairdo, apparently, and he really wanted some positive reinforcement. He was a very, very young guy, probably 20, 21, almost like a 50s kind of ducktail sort of thing. It was an unusual choice for a young fella, but it looked good. And so I said, no, that looks good. Good choice. But then it was like he wanted more reinforcement. And I thought, my guy, I've been losing my hair for 15 years. If you want in-depth hairdo analysis, you're talking to the wrong guy. I don't know what about the shiny, expansive scalp up here that makes you think I can offer you any kind of further insight into whatever it is you're doing with that coiffure of yours. I just kept saying, yeah, no, keep it up. And double thumbs up, like I was warding off vampires with crucifixes, and just backed my way out the door. I had no idea what else to say.
I know what you could have said.
Do tell.
I look forward to adding that to my collection.
Yeah, I think after my experience getting into the Auschwitz exhibit at the museum with my newly shaved head on Sunday, which I'm not going to get into here, I think I'm probably better off not scaring anyone into thinking I'm a serial killer in addition to the things they thought I was going into that exhibit. But I will say, Gene, who recommended I check out the dino exhibit at the Royal Ontario Museum, you were right. It is fabulous, and I'm going to go back because I have a limited people budget, sort of like my budget of focus. So I only have so much time in a place like a museum, especially with the dino exhibit, which was on a Sunday, was packed with families. But no, Gene, thank you so much. It was wonderful, and I'm looking forward to exploring it further. However, we are not here to talk about dinosaurs, sad as that is. Instead, we are here to talk about the hauntings and accompanying glitches of the great Canadian city of Montreal, Quebec. But before we do that, we have to thank our patrons.
This one's for the patrons.
Patrons, we could not do what we do without vous. So thank you. Thank you. That's all the French I'm going to try on this one, Paul. It's all I'm going to try.
Ah, très bon.
Bien.
Oui, ça va?
Ça va très bien.
Ah, très bien, très bien. Au revoir.
Tschüss? No, that's German. Anyways. Well, we'd like to thank all our patrons. We would especially like to thank our latest patrons. They are
Heather Meringue,
Kate,
Lucy Fetch,
and Georgia May.
Woo!
Thank you all so much. We cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. We could not do this without our patrons. And so, again, we are deeply grateful to every single one of you. If you'd like to get access to bonus shows, extra conversations between myself and Paul, I just dropped a Haunting of Airbnb episodes, about 35 minutes. And again, we got extra chats between us. We have our live show, early ad-free release, all kinds of good stuff. You can get that by clicking the link in the show notes or by heading to patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. Again, that's patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. Oh, I almost forgot. You can also become a friend of the cabin on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. All right, mon frère. Allez, anyway, no, I'm not going to keep doing this bit. Yeah, so we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with stories of haunted Montreal. Premonition. My mom's a special lady. She seems to feel things and know things that others don't. It seems to me that her gift, if that's what you want to call it, was passed on to my brother, who has also had some wicked experiences. So for background information, my family and I have lived in Montreal our whole life. My brother was in college at the time of this experience. I was in 6th or 7th grade. This will be important. My brother woke up one morning really not wanting to go to school. This isn't like him at all. He's a straight-A student, but that morning he was just down in the dumps for I don't know what reason. My mom encouraged him to go, so she dropped him off at the bus stop and me at school, and we all went our separate ways. My mom was late for work that day, not because of dropping me and my brother off, but because she all of a sudden decided to buy my brother and herself cell phones. She never had thought about cell phones before, but just decided out of the blue to go get some. I'm going to go ahead and assume that she didn't make that decision by herself and something compelled her to do it. She admits that she went a different way after dropping us off. This is very unlike her. Anyways, she got to work with the cell phones in her hand, telling her coworkers how her son was going to be so happy. She then proceeded to throw up out of nowhere with absolutely no warning. She was lightheaded and felt terrible, but she said she could handle it and she just needed to sit for a bit. Half an hour later, her best friend ran through the door and asked if she's all right. My mom answered that, yeah, she'll be fine, and asked how she knew she was feeling sick. Her friend looked shocked, then turned on the radio. A broadcaster is reporting that all cell phone lines are down around downtown Montreal. Why? There had been a shooting at my brother's college. All cell phone lines were overused. At that moment, the phones that were still in their boxes on the counter fell to the ground. At around the same time, my school canceled all classes and let us play in the yard instead. I was playing with my friends when I felt sick all of a sudden, like my mom. No warning, just sick and dizzy and feeling terrible. I remember feeling cold, even though it was at the beginning of September and a hot and humid Montreal day. I went to the office and called my mom from there, and she was panicking on the phone, but wouldn't tell me why. I ended up fainting a couple minutes later. My brother wasn't hurt. He got out unscathed, but he saw things that day that changed him. And for reference, this would have been 2006. This was the Dawson College shooting in downtown Montreal, where 20 people were injured, 19 were injured, 1 was killed. And it's a horrible, horrible event, obviously. I think it was the 3rd shooting in Montreal since, I want to say 1986. Is it because 1986 was Polytechnique? And then 1992, I think, there was one at Concordia University. But yeah, horrifying stuff.
Very much so. It's a very powerful premonition.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few of these on here, but I don't know if we've ever had one where people reacted so strongly, like physically. I mean,
it's strange as well that the author doesn't particularly presume that they have that kind of gift that runs in the family, and yet she was as affected by what was happening outside of her realm of knowledge as her mother was.
Oh, I'm going to put that down to daughter syndrome. But you've got just as many gifts as your brother, but we're going to talk about it. That happened to my sister. She went through school after me, and everyone's like, "Oh, your brother's really smart," and my sister's just as smart as I am. But no one likes to fucking hear that all the time.
I wouldn't, because I don't have a sister.
That's fair. That's fair.
That I'm aware of.
I was waiting for you to take a shot at Dean there.
No, not today. I led so he could follow.
There you go. You blazed the trail.
Yeah, he didn't get any crap.
Not with fridge tipping Bestel backing him.
Fridge tipping Bestel's friends, more likely.
That's fair. Well, Knuckles Malone and Shotgun Frank and Set Your House on Fire Dave.
Barmy Brian.
Yeah, naturally, yeah, Barmy Brian. Can squeeze myself through tiny spaces and then kill you in your sleep, Steve.
Ninja Nigel.
Oh, man, there are all kinds of... You got way more friends in school than I did, can I tell you?
Well, my friends didn't go to school.
Okay. I mean, mine barely did. They were just mostly depressed. Just a bunch of Eeyores standing outside the library at lunch.
One cat came out, and a different cat came in. I don't know what's going on there. Naturally.
Yeah, folks, Paul, that line was very, very funny. You should all laugh. As Paul did, he was just away from his microphone, I swear.
I was laughing, but I just wasn't here.
On the inside. It's like when I make jokes to Nikki. I'm laughing on the inside. Okay. I got a new parking space here at my building, and been parking there for a little bit now, but today I pulled in and there's a cat sitting in the window just above where my hood is. And of course it's a cat, right? Like I have to love it immediately upon seeing it. But I do love the disdain in their eyes when you disturb them in even the slightest way. I just opened my door and it's very quiet. He's behind very thick glass, but he looked at me like I was a fart in a spacesuit.
We were being followed by a fox the other evening, which was quite funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we saw it run across the road and we hadn't seen one for a while. It's one of those things you always hear people say, you feel like you're being watched. So I was just walking along with Theo and I thought, feels a bit strange. So I looked up and it was just there at the top of the banking, just with its head over, watching us. And I was managed to get a pretty crap picture of it, but it was just keeping its eye on us for a little bit. Gorgeous it was.
Sasquatch.
Well, don't give people ideas here, please.
Before I tell you the glitch story, speaking of Sasquatch or Foxsquatch, I guess, we were talking about Lance Henriksen and that period where he was in every Bigfoot movie that came out. So have you seen Devil on the Mountain?
No.
So that's the other one that came out the same year as Abominable, I think.
Yes.
Oh boy, it's bad. I started watching it the other night on Prime, and I recently picked up a copy of a film called Five Dead on a Crimson Canvas. It is a shot-on-video homage to Giallo films, shot for virtually fucking nothing in Long Island, New York in like 2000, I think like 2000 or 1998 or something. That looks better than the 2006 Sasquatch film starring Lance Henriksen, Craig Wasson, Tim Thomerson, and a couple other horror luminaries who I have to imagine put that one way down at the bottom of their resume. Holy Christ, it looked like they shot it on a webcam. The Sasquatch suit was so bad, I expected him to start doing the Kokanee beer slogan, like the beer out here, just to justify why it looked like a couple Persian rugs that someone had fluffed up in a lightning storm.
So it's giving Cry Wilderness a run for its money as the worst Bigfoot film ever.
I feel like Cry Wilderness is still probably, because this at least has some talented people in it. Like, I think it was the last film Craig Wasson did, and I can't imagine why. But he can still bring it. He can still do what he's supposed to do. And same thing with Lance Henriksen. No matter what he's in. He's like Christopher Walken that way. Back in the 90s, Walken was in a lot of garbage, but he always tried. He always did something unique, a little bit like Nick Cage, I think Walken's more interesting than Cage. But anyways, yeah, it sucks, but I don't think Cry Wilderness sucks.
Good. I didn't want a sort of subplot about Bigfoot liking rock and roll music and drinking Coca-Cola. and probably one of the worst product placement storylines I've ever witnessed.
It still sounds slightly better than Mac and Me. Slightly.
Yes, one scene never forgotten.
The company whose video releases I subscribe to, you get like 3 a month, and but they do extras, but you have to pay extra for those. And I got one of their big release for last month was a restored in 4K using the original cinematic elements of Mac and Me. And I'm like, nope, that's $40 I will just keep in my pocket. Thank you very much. I have watched some dog shit because you guys have put it out on 4K. I have no interest in owning Mac and Me.
The only redeeming feature Mac and Me has is it is easily one of the worst films ever made.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen a lot of the worst films ever made.
True. You've seen Halloween Jack.
I have. Well, some of it. There is nothing that would compel me to ever watch that film again. I saw it when it came out as a kid, and I didn't like it then. And then I saw it when Mystery Science Theatre 3000 did it. And that was the only way I found it enjoyable, was listening to other people just ripping it to shreds for an hour and a half. It's not like Troll 2 or the first Leprechaun film, where they're just a bit weird. And like Troll 2, nothing makes sense in it at all. You've no idea what's happening half the time. And that's even the fact that the film's not very good, because it's so weird and makes no sense. That kind of takes you to another level of enjoyment, I think is the word. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's soulless, I think, is the problem with Mac and Me. It is such a cash grab that I'm struggling to think of anything as blatantly bad a rip-off in my life made by an American studio.
I can't think of one. However, if you want to watch it in 4K restored from its original camera negatives with 2 different commentary tracks, because, I don't know, you have been sentenced by the gods for stealing fire, you can get it on. You can do that now.
I think I'd rather have my liver picked out every day. Thank you very much.
All right. And now the glitch story, before we go on. This one's called Not Me. I used to go out to a club in Montreal, which was right next to the Gay Village neighborhood. So one night I went there dancing, but I noticed a guy staring at me. I didn't really care. I just continued dancing, but the guy didn't stop, so I assumed he found me attractive. I took that as a compliment and moved on. Then he came and talked to me. The first thing he said was, "Hey man, I'm sure you noticed me staring. I'm sorry about that. It's just that you look like a carbon copy of a friend of mine that died a few years ago, and I had to tell you because it's uncanny at this point." Okay, so that's why he was looking at me. The guy was actually pretty chill, so I ended up talking a little more with him. He ended up showing me his friend's profile on Facebook, and good God, the guy was literally me. Same smile, same eyes, same eyebrows, same beard. Long story short, if I sent his photo to my mom, she would swear on God that it's a picture of me. At that point, I was already amazed. We ended up chilling a little bit more, and then he took a selfie of us to send to his friends. The pic was actually really nice, so I asked him to add me on Facebook to send it to me. He said, "Sure, what's your name?" I told him, and as soon as I did, he was astonished. Apparently, I not only have the same face as his last friend, but his name as well.
Ooh.
That's weird, eh? Again, Montreal was really overrepresented when I did a search on Glitch on the Matrix Reddit. Montreal was way overrepresented. There's stuff that's not in here that I didn't bother including. Some of it's garbage. And even some of the ones I have in the story are maybe a little bit garbage. But it's unusual for one city, in my experience, to be that represented in that subreddit. I do think there is something particularly odd about that city, which is probably why I liked it so much.
But that's strange. It's not only the fact that you look like someone, but you've got the same name.
Yeah, that's it. I would be genuinely freaked out at that point.
Remember when I told you that time I got that weird email at a place I worked at years ago?
Vaguely, remind me?
So I was working for a bank on an evening because I was at college as a mature student, and so I worked evenings at this place in their IT department doing software assistance and customer support for a bank's website. And one Friday afternoon, I'd gone in because usually Fridays we did different shifts, so finished earlier than normal. And I got in and I got an email saying, "Hi Paul, haven't seen you since we left school. Saw you outside work, so I thought I'd take a chance and drop you an email. I hope all's good." And I looked at the name and I thought, I have no idea who that is. No idea. I'm racking my brains. I'm thinking everybody I went to school with. And so I just replied back and I said, I'm terribly sorry. What school did you go to? And he mentioned a school in Sheffield. And I just went, I didn't go to school in Sheffield. I'm not from Sheffield. And it ended up he'd seen, I don't know. He thought he'd seen his friend called Paul Bestall outside this building, which was a bank. And so he'd emailed this guy at the bank. I worked for this bank. The email had obviously been sent to me, but I did not know who this person was, and I did not go to that school that he'd gone to. But he'd seen somebody called Paul Bestall outside my building, and he took a chance on emailing them because he hadn't seen that Paul Bestall since he left school. And that's probably the only experience I've ever had of that. But that's just weird.
That's fucking bizarre.
And that's like, was that 2001, 2002?
Interesting.
It's very strange.
Are you? I was just reminded. Are you familiar with the Brady Feigl story?
Name rings a bell, but I'm not too sure much more than that.
So the story came out in late 2022, early 2023, that there are two baseball players, both pitchers, named Brady Feigl, who are both ginger men with beards who look remarkably alike. They are so much alike. They look so much alike. They took a DNA test to see if they are related. They are not. They just happen to be two ginger men with bearded ginger men. I will send you the link over on Facebook, who look, again, alarmingly alike and happen to have the same name, but have zero connection to each other. Again, unless this is some elaborate prank that I'm not up on, it is just weird.
How strange. How strange. I mean, you see it quite a lot these days that there will be people who bump into each other. It does seem to be a thing. I mean, there is that famous clip from a few years ago with two guys talking who are gamers, and one of them gets really upset because he sees the girl in the background and it's the spitting image of his partner, and they end up having this big ding-dong until he realises, no, that's not his partner, that's this guy's girlfriend, and they could have been twins, and eventually they ended up meeting up, and they are essentially twins, but they're from completely different parts of the States.
Jesus Christ. See, this is how you know we're getting to the end of the simulation, guys. They're running out of faces. I'm kidding. I don't actually think we live in a fucking simulation.
Once again, don't encourage them.
I know. I said, as I was saying, I'm like, don't make that joke. But because I'm a hack, that's all I could do is make the joke.
Wait till the Lemurians hear about this. The Old Man. The stories I wish to share are from when I was 35 years old, living in the suburbs of Montreal with my wife and our respective kids. These stories are mostly benign and include our three current haunts. Haunt number 1, the Old Man, is the original owner of the house. He passed away maybe 20 years ago, and we bought the house from his widow and her children, now in their late 40s. He comes and visits every so often, and mostly just keeps an eye on things, then goes away. When we first moved in, my dad was sanding the hardwood floors in one of the bedrooms, and saw something in the corner of his eye. He turned to look, and saw that the old man was looking at him. My dad, having lived in a house full of ghost magnets, as my mum and siblings are sensitives, thought nothing of it, and continued sanding, since he in no way felt threatened. My wife, when working on our kitchen renovations, saw him from the corner of her eyes, but the usual not there anymore when you would look would happen. Mostly she asked me if he agreed with our work, and I would get the sense from the old man that he did. Haunt number 2 is a little girl. She's a relatively new haunt to the household and has no attachment to the house or to us. I picked her up travelling between cities one night and she's just stuck with us. I was driving alone and then all of a sudden, I wasn't. But I never saw anything creepy. I just knew I wasn't alone. She hangs out in the basement, where there's a playroom for the kids that are set up. My wife's art stuff as well is down there, and my guitars and amps too. She will come out every time I play guitar. My girls, when they're with me, play in the basement all the time, and they've never mentioned anything about her. My wife, one evening, was cleaning up her art supplies and saw her in full as she turned around, and then she just faded out. She was wearing a white dress. That's all I could get from my wife about the little girl. The final story about the girl, me and my wife were in the living room watching The Shining. Just us, the kids were at our respected exes. And I'd just read the book and I finally wanted to see the movie. The couch that we were sitting on was backed up against a wall shared by our bedroom and the living room. In one of the more intense scenes, my thoughts are suddenly intruded by fear, but not my own. I was comparing the book to the movie and was being too analytical to be afraid. I paused the movie and looked towards the hallway where the emotion came from. I heard one of the dogs who was sleeping on our bed calmly get off and head towards us as the light in the bedroom came on. The dog flopped down at our feet and started snoring at the door as our bedroom slowly shut. She was gone by the time we went to bed. The final haunt is the thing in the backyard, and this one befuddles me. It only manifests itself at night. Makes you feel creeped out and watched when you go in our backyard in the evening, but not at all during the day. And the dogs are completely unbothered by it, or it by them. But neither the kids nor the wife will go in the backyard when that sun goes down. I'll go, because I know the feeling eventually fades after a few minutes, and I've never witnessed anything unseemly. The only story I have of this one is that one night the dogs woke me up, whining and slowly growling. I was alone, the wife was gone, and the kids were once again at their respected other half of parenthood. I heard the gate to the backyard being opened, and then muffled footsteps and hushed talking. Intruders seemed to be trespassing in my backyard, so without thinking, I ran out there in my undies, waving a hockey stick, only to find the tail end of 3 teenagers yelling, "What the fuck was that?" as they ran off towards the street. The dogs started giving chase, but I called them back. I sent them out in the back to sniff out if there was anyone left, but the dogs simply peed and asked to come back in. I felt the creepiness stronger than I ever did, before as well as after. I went back into the house and got some sleep.
I understand the rationale behind running outside with a hockey stick to scare off intruders, because when I lived in a house, I used to think I would hear noises downstairs, and I would, creep downstairs with a baseball bat. But the thing is, you kind of have a limited range of what you can do to defend yourself in that situation. Like, unless they attack you, you can't attack them. And to me, having like something like a hitting stick in my hand is just, it's a little too like, this seems fun. I think you're asking for trouble. Okay, legally, physically, you can do whatever. You can wear them as a skin suit. It's just the law is not going to be on your side.
Yes, sadly, yes. It doesn't happen very often, but it has happened here in the past. We've had a couple of very high-profile cases in the UK where homeowners have killed intruders.
Jesus Christ!
Which takes some doing here. You've got to remember.
Well, that's it. Yeah, they're fucking cricket batting the guy's brains into pudding. Ugh. Yeah, again, if your life is in danger, go for it. But at that point, it's your duty to protect yourself and the people you love. But if Dez is coming in looking for VCRs and your first thought is, I'm going to put holes in this guy's head that weren't there before, it's probably not going to go well for you.
If they catch you.
Well, as my lovely wife keeps reminding me that she knows how to get rid of bodies. So, I've got a resource should it happen.
Yeah, well, we're all in trouble really these days, aren't we? With the amount of true crime we all consume, we're all suspects.
Yes, you are not wrong. Speaking of which, we were talking in the break about the documentary 3 Identical Strangers, where these triplets were separated by a foster agency and were adopted out to 3 different families, never knowing that there were more of them. And you were telling me that there was a story about a Dutch sperm donor who has fathered more than 1,000 kids. And of course, this is in response to many people looking alike who maybe are not related.
Yeah. Well, there's this guy that ran a clinic called Dr. Jan Karbat, who was actually one of the Dutch pioneers of artificial insemination. I mean, they know for definite. I mean, the last total I saw was it was over 350 that they think they can conclusively prove. They've definitely proved 49 through DNA. But he ran this clinic for 30 years, so they reckon it could be thousands. But that was one of those things that I'm not sure if it came out just before, but it certainly everything started to unravel after he's died. And so you've got all these people in the Netherlands that have all got the same dad.
So you know what's even more fucked up? There's another Dutchman who has fathered over 1,000 kids, and I thought you were talking about that guy.
No, he's the guy that got banned, isn't he? He got caught and fined, and when they told him to stop, he started donating to other countries' sperm banks and doing it online.
Yeah, Meyer, I think was his name. More than 1,100 kids they've attributed to. What is it with the Dutch?
Well, they are very good at football for a small country, so maybe that's what they're trying to help with. And I don't think these are outliers. I would imagine this is one of those things that unless something goes awry, people aren't going to know. But I'll be amazed if it's just two people. I would imagine there's probably somebody in every country doing this.
So, third case.
Is he from Netherlands?
Yes.
Shaky people.
What the fuck is happening over there? Medical calamity. This is from The Guardian. Medical calamity. Dozens of Dutch sperm donors fathered at least 25 children. Just going to read a little bit of the body of the article. At least 85 sperm donors in the Netherlands. This is what you come to your ghost story show for, guys. In the Netherlands, because this is scarier than anything I've seen on the other side. Have fathered 25 or more children, the National Gynecology and Obstetrics Organization has said, after a new registration system showed fertility clinics have been breaking existing rules on sperm donations for decades. And so apparently there is actually a limit in the Netherlands. In 1992, men were barred from fathering more than 25 children because there is the risk of involuntary incest and inbreeding in such a small population. And apparently, Dutch guys just took that as challenge accepted.
I find it odd that they had to set a limit.
Well, it raises questions. But obviously not, though. It's obviously not weird because we've got Attila the Hun 1 and 2, or 2 and 3, I guess, technically, out there just, again, you're firing kids off like they were. Anyways, I'm going to stop this metaphor because it's going to go to a bad place. But apparently so, because this is, I can't assume this is a new thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the new, one of the, as you mentioned there, Attila the Hun. I was watching a documentary about what I thought was Genghis Khan, but no, he's called Chenghis Khan. That's how we pronounce his name. It's Chenghis, not Genghis.
Fuck him, he's dead. I'll call him whatever I want.
Is it 100 million, they think, have got ancestral DNA to him? I'm not surprised, looking at what he did. I mean, he did get his revenge on the tribe that killed his dad, rather horribly. Boiled him alive.
I'm just... This is the second time someone on this show has been boiled alive today. Don't know that I love that, Paul.
Yes. It's happening, isn't it? Yes.
There's a lot of weird stuff happening. We got super horny Dutch guys. Actually, I don't even know if at that point it's about being super horny. At that point, it's a numbers game.
I think there's more to that than meets the eye. I think, you can be a bit flippant about it, but it's quite disturbing, I think. There's something not quite... There's something weird there.
Before we get to the glitch in the Matrix story for this one, I just on the subject of IVF, because somehow we found ourselves here. Are you familiar with Rikki Lindholm?
No.
Okay, so she was part of Garfunkel and Oates about 10 years ago. With Kate Masucci. They did a lot of funny songs, parodies. They had a sketch comedy show on IFC for a season. Very, very funny comedian. But she has a new comedy album out. But there is a whole song cycle at the end, which is funny, but in a very bleak way, which is basically about her struggle to conceive through IVF. And there is one particular song, I think it's called 90%, where she just shreds the partner she had at the time, who basically said, they had an embryo that they had sort of, I guess, created together. And he decided, I'm only 90% sure I want to have kids, so we can't do it because I can't do it until I'm 100%. And basically he had been keeping her, it sounds like he had been kind of stringing her along for a really long time, saying like, eventually I'm going to get there, and then never did. And it sounds heartbreaking, but it's a very funny song. And I just found myself thinking, listening to it today, boy, I'm glad I'm not this fucking guy. Because not only am I a total dong, now the whole world knows what a dong I am. I mean, she doesn't mention his name, but I assume anyone who knows who she's, been dating, it's not going to be hard to pin down. My heart goes out to anyone trying to conceive through IVF. I know a number of people who've done it. It's not easy, and good luck to you.
Absolutely. I agree. But it's very strange, the tangents we find ourselves falling down.
I always think when we're really invested in a topic, when we've got a bunch of really good stories, that's when the digressions get really good.
Yes, I agree. I never thought we'd talk about paranormal sperm banks. Is there
Surprise.
a haunted sperm bank out there?
There's a whole episode.
Yeah, enough of haunted hospitals. Haunted sperm banks. That's the next docu-series.
Get on it at Discovery Channel. We know you're probably working on it anyways.
Zach Baggins's haunted sperm banks.
Yeah, Baggins, he's sitting in his basement, his mom's basement. He just, like, his bad idea light just went off. We got one!
Turns up with a luminol.
All right, so with the thought of luminol in our heads, you want to read that Glitch in the Matrix story?
375 degrees. I was driving on the highway from my parents' home to my apartment in Montreal. There wasn't so much traffic, just very fluid circulation. I want to change to my lane to the right. So I put on my indicator to signal my intention of changing lanes, and I checked my blind spot, and there was nothing there. I started moving towards the right lane slowly and rechecked my blind spot as I did. This time, however, I saw from the corner of my eye some kind of dark bluish shape widening as I turned my head. My heart started beating faster, and I felt a little vertigo kicking in, mostly because the shape kind of seemed to be moving and getting wider and bigger, all very fast. Of course, the rational part of me quickly concluded that this was probably a car. So I stopped my movement towards the right lane and made sure I went safely back to the initial lane I set off from. But when I looked back at the blind spot behind me, in front, all around, and even on the left, there was no dark or blue car there at all where I'd seen the shape. Nothing. This happened a few months ago, and I remember trying to explain what I'd seen and witnessed to my boyfriend. And the best way I found it was to compare it to circles. If you think of a circle and how it's usually 360 degrees, and when I looked at the blind spot, that shape and movement kind of felt as if circles were now made out of 375 degrees, as if the world had opened an extra 15 degrees, moving the other 360 degrees to the right, which is probably what made me dizzy. I apologise if my explanation is hard to understand, but I wanted to share, mostly to hear your theories, but also to know if anyone else has ever experienced something similar.
Yeah, that one, the only thing that kind of kept that in one for me is the physical reaction to it. That seems anomalous to me. That seems like something worth kind of digging into, because I feel like that, I've heard of that when things don't add up.
Yep.
And your mind just recoils from it.
Like a little nausea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's too hard to sort of factor into what is like your view of the world. St. Joseph's Oratory. I'd like to start by saying this was the very first time I've ever visited the oratory. And since I was a young child, I've always been in touch with the unexplainable. My partner and I decided tonight to visit the oratory after a date night to kill some time. Though we are non-religious, it's been something we've talked about checking out. It was maybe 7:30-ish. It was misty out, and the sun had set. We walked around the upper half outside and took some pictures of the view. When we were going up the escalator and into the main building, I started to feel a little uneasy and nauseous. Right before we entered the basilica, we came up an escalator and had to go into a little hallway. We met with a security guard that flagged us to go in and let us know that the other half wasn't accessible. We were just about to walk in when a group of 3 or 4 people walked out and said they heard knocking. One of them waved to the security guard and said that there was someone stuck in the room that was out of bounds. I turned around and immediately felt my stomach twist. The door which the knocking was coming from was like a French glass door with multiple little windows. It took me a while to find the person behind it, as the room was pitch black. I saw a light illuminating their face. It was an older-looking woman with black hair, hunched over looking through a glass pane lower than her field of vision. Her face was tilted downwards. She was smiling and was knocking on the glass with only the knuckle of her index finger. I looked at the security guard. He waved on the group and said, "Let them knock." The other group said something along the lines of that they must be stuck, and the security guard just shook his head and asked them to leave. That room was really inaccessible. Anyone walking through the oratory tonight would see that this was a very closed-off room, pitch black, locked doors. The security guard had no sense of urgency and just rushed everyone along, which was also strange. I don't know what I saw. My partner didn't see it, but said he felt very weird and creeped out while he was there. Through the rest of our time, I felt like I was being watched. I was very uneasy and very, very nauseous, with like a lump in the top of my throat. And I think that's really interesting because that's usually these sightings seem to happen when no one's around or it's only one or two people. This sounds like a very public sighting. And the security guard trying to kind of play it off as, it's just grandma. She's just locked in there again. You know what she's like.
Come on, nothing to see here. Move along, please.
Yeah, meanwhile, that werewolf granny from that movie we did on Movie Nightish way back, she's in there just clawing at the door, baying for blood.
Is that Mom?
Yeah, I think it was called Mom. I missed that YouTube channel, man. That guy had some gold.
Not half at all. Yeah, but that's a weird one, isn't it? That's quite a... but yeah, I mean, I suppose the realisation is it's just... I don't know, if you see somebody smiling is one of those weird things that I think can be done in such a manner that it's quite unsettling, and that seems to be what was going on there.
Yeah, she's got the smile of a guy who just fathered 1,100 kids. He's sweaty and looking at you from the back of a bar. No one would ever let him near him normally.
Yeah.
So he's this bank shot dad to 11. Anyways, we should probably stop talking about modern Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
But
stop giving the Discovery Channel ideas, okay?
Well, I say Netflix has got one called The Man with 1,000 Kids. So I feel like they've kind of taken up the banner of weird-ass documentary.
Yes, they have. There's always a weird one kicking around on there. I enjoy them a lot.
Have you seen massive engineering mistakes?
I've seen a couple of episodes, yes.
So Nick started watching it, so she put me onto it. And I've been kind of picking away at episodes, but I watched 3 about Montreal just in the second season alone because Montreal's construction industry is famously riven with corruption. One of the stories, or 2 of the stories actually, involved pre-stressed concrete, which I guess when these structures, one of them was quite a large bridge, was built, it was a new technology, and they hadn't really considered the long-term wear of it in a place where it gets very hot and then very cold. And so they built this bridge for however many hundreds of millions of dollars and then realized, oh, this fucking thing is falling apart. And so, like me trying to fix a script in the minutes before we record the show, they just tried bolting a bunch of trusses to it and thought, well, this will solve the problem. And instead, it just completely changed the wear pattern of the bridge and fucked it even more. And so they had to rebuild a completely new bridge. I want to say in the billions of dollars. It was ludicrously expensive, but it was because they had half-assed it with this pre-stressed concrete. And the other one was a highway overpass. That was also made using pre-stressed concrete. And eventually, I think in 2006, thereabouts, it collapsed onto the traffic underneath it. And when they looked at the history of this thing, people had reported that the bridge was sinking, and that agency went, yeah, we'll get to it. And then, foosh. But when they investigated it, they found that shock, not only did this pre-stressed concrete suck because, again, the expansion and contraction of the water, and the fact that, at least in Canada, we use a shitload of salt on the roads to keep them clear in the winter. And then that runs off and gets into all the cracks and corrodes whatever metal happens to be exposed there. But again, to everyone's shock and amazement, when they mixed the concrete for this thing, they used the cheapest fucking concrete possible and didn't use nearly enough rebar. And I'm sure that had nothing to do with again, corruption in the construction construction industry in the province of Quebec.
Well, maybe they were thinking that the bodies would have been a good replacement for the rebar.
Yeah, the bridge collapsed and about half of Vittorio just fell out.
Yeah, nothing shocks me when it comes to things like that, because people cut corners all the time in construction projects. Yeah. It's just it's never a problem. I mean, there was a very similar thing happened the other year when in the Turkish earthquake, and that brought to light a lot of companies had been circumnavigating the regulations, because obviously everything's supposed to be earthquake proof there, and some of the buildings just collapsed like a pack of cards. Jesus
Christ. Well, I found out as I was talking to a friend of mine about watching the show, and what occurred to me is, like, if you think about extrapolating this out, because there are 6 seasons of this show, and each one has 3 different fucking engineering disasters. And some of them are large-scale skyscrapers. I was saying to my friend, I said, Jesus, if you extrapolate this out, this is just the ones that are like known enough to be on television. And I found out that they had I knew they'd had a breakdown in 2020. I assumed it was entirely pandemic related. They said that was part of it. But they said the other thing is they finished their second degree. Part of their degree was learning about all this stuff. And they themselves had this realization about how there's no one at the wheel. It's just turtles all the way down. And it just broke them. This idea that all this shit is out there just waiting to break. They could not hold it all in their mind. And it just fractured them. And I had no idea. Again, I'd known there was issues, but not that was part of it. And it just is a great reminder that knowledge is a curse.
It certainly is. When it comes to things like that, I mean, it's you can have conversations about just what you think are like interestingly things about the world around us, and then halfway through you can suddenly realise that you're actually sharing terribly frightening information with people who may not be prepared for it.
Yes. Well, it's like doing what we do, right? Like I spend my days, like I tell ghost stories with you. It's pretty hard to scare me. And so I'll be talking to someone in a coffee shop or whatever, and I'll be, oh yeah, no, this thing and this thing. What? That's out there? Oh yeah. Yeah. No, lots of people have seen them. Like we don't know what they are, but yeah, no, that's yeah. And all of a sudden, their face goes white, and I'm thinking, what's wrong? It's just a hat, man. That's normal. Or like I'll tell the stories about the time I saw shadow people, and they're like, so you just saw that? Yeah, it was just there. I don't know. Was it a demon? No, I don't think demons are real. It was something. It was unpleasant and scary, but Anyways, I'll have the Americano. It's like people start looking at you funny, and because we're so used to it, it's just part of the wallpaper. Or with movies, for fuck's sakes. I was on the receiving end of this recently. One of our listeners, Sawyer, I can't remember if I mentioned this on the show or not, but one of our listeners, Sawyer, sent me a copy of a film that I've been wanting to see for a long time, and it's not been available in Canada. D. Snyder's Strangeland. Have you seen it?
No.
It's fucked up.
I find that hard to believe.
It's this late 90s, kind of like it's sort of a bridge between the late 90s detective serial killer movie boom with like Seven and Resurrection and 9mm or 8mm and all that shit, plus the French new wave, new extreme stuff that started in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a weird forgotten bridge between those two things. But I found it really unpleasant. Like I don't like watching torture stuff. I don't like watching things about people being kidnapped. And that's all it is. Body modification and torture. With D. Snyder as a serial killer who calls himself Captain Howdy and lures people on the internet in 1998 in chat rooms.
Do you want to talk about Heaven's Gate?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so she sent me. She's like, "Oh, I actually have 2 copies. I have 2 DVDs. If you want one, I'll send it to you." So she sent it to me, which was lovely, and I'm very appreciative. But I watched it, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" To her, it was like, "Yeah, whatever. It's just another serial killer movie." To me, I'm sitting there hugging my knees.
Oh, I think I'll put Martyrs on now just to relax.
Oh Christ, yeah. It's like when I tried to watch Timo Tchahanto's Macabre. I had fucking nightmares. I turned it off after half an hour. I still had actual nightmares, like a child watching a Chucky movie.
Well, you never know. Sometimes the strangest of films can reappear in your mind while sleeping and take it to a very different level.
This sounds like you have an example.
No, because like I say, I had quite a long time without remembering any dream.
Right, of course.
I mean, Chucky terrified me. I don't know why. I really didn't like it.
Scared me when I was a kid too.
I wasn't a kid.
Oh.
I was 19 when I saw Child's Play. It really put the willies up me. And I don't know why. It's one of those films that I'd seen far scarier films at a much younger age. And so Child's Play, I should have been nothing. But there was something about that bit where Mum picks him up and realises there's no batteries in him. And it really sent the fear in me. And I don't know why.
Some things just do it, man. Some things just have that effect. It's like when I rewatched The Shining, when they did the 4K remaster, and I happened to catch it in cinemas down in LA. I have seen The Shining many, 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 many times, but seeing it in like remastered that way, the detail was so fine. You could see the cross hatching on Dick Halloran's suit.
Yeah.
And it felt like you could touch it.
Mm.
And it was like someone had scrubbed away the border between me and the movie. Because, again, I've seen this Shining so many times, it just doesn't have any effect on me. I like it on an aesthetic level. It doesn't scare me. Watching it that night, it was seeing his suit. Just all of a sudden, I was in it in a way I hadn't been in years, and it scared the shit out of me.
I think what I could compare that to is because Jaws is one of them films I've seen so many times. It's easily in my top 5, probably, I would say. And I remember the first time I realised I understood the last 10 minutes that Quint is absolutely shitting himself at the end of that film. And until you get to a certain age, I don't think you realise that. You don't understand it, but you can see. I think there's something, you get to a certain age and you click and you can suddenly see in Robert Shaw's performance that as they're desperately trying to get, I mean, one of the shots in that film I think people always overlook is they do that shot where the shark Bruce is chasing them and the engine's blowing up and they're chugging along and he's proper throttling it because he's bricking it. And they do that pan shot, and you can see how close they are to shore. They're so near to getting away. And then obviously, boom, that's when it all goes mental. But that moment you realise how scared he is, I think, is when you suddenly realise just how good that film is, because that just makes it completely different after that.
Interesting. Well, they're doing I think a 50th anniversary 4K theatrical run pretty soon. So I'm going to try and catch that again, because again, I haven't seen Jaws in years.
2 weeks on Saturday.
Oh, there you go.
IMAX.
Perfect.
IMAX here. I'm going.
Fucking A.
I watched it 2 weeks ago. I probably watch Jaws 3 times a year.
That's awesome.
I love it.
So very quickly back to the glitch story. So this is a very quick one. It's called He's Here. This person says, in 2011, I was homeless, living under a road near the Olympic Stadium in Montreal. I was very careful to leave and come back to my hidden sleeping spot only when it was dark. It was almost impossible to know where I was going, as I took a very dark, snake-shaped path to it. One night, as I was coming back from downtown, maybe around midnight, I saw 3 police cars blocking the road and the T intersection near the bridge. There was no one else but the cops who were standing outside their cars looking around. As I walked near one of them, he put his hand up normally, not aggressively, to tell me to stop, and then talked into his shoulder radio. Okay, he's here. I internally panicked and thought 100% he's arresting me and I'm going to jail again. And I just said, what do you mean he's here? He didn't reply anything, just made a sign with his hand for me to move on, then went back to his car. I could walk back to my spot as usual, but I was totally confused. There were no cops around the following day. And I mean, that, I guess it could be that there was like something had happened and they know that he sleeps there. So they were waiting to see if he turned back up or, if something that had happened to him. It doesn't necessarily have to be something supernatural, but that would be unnerving.
I agree. I think that they were far more aware of his presence than he believed it to be, and therefore they knew where he was. And perhaps, like you say, I agree, I think something's happened, or they found a body that they can't identify, and they think, oh, well, it must be this guy who's normally there. And then when he turned up, they were like, oh, he's here, it's not him. Come on, you're all right. I mean, it's still weird. Yeah. I mean, you still don't understand what's going on, but I don't think it's that weird. I think it's strange, but it's not peculiar. The world is a simulation thing.
No, I agree. That one, I like that one just because I like the idea of the highway overpass and the sort of just the liminality of that space. I think is kind of cool.
Do you not think the first line of that experience is one of the most absurd commentaries on the modern world?
I was homeless living under a road near the multi-million-dollar stadium that they put a $26 million roof on that had to immediately be taken off. Yeah, 100%.
And when was that? 76, wasn't it, Montreal?
I think so, yeah. And then they've had to replace the roof twice because, again, both times it was apparently designed by gorillas.
I know these guys in construction. Let them get the job.
Yeah, it was my cousin Vittorio.
He's really good at roofs.
If it doesn't go wrong, we got an overpass project coming up that he can be part of, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Obviously very famous for the first perfect score ever in gymnastics in the 76 Olympics.
I just think of that part in Rocky IV where they show the training regime for Drago, and it's just a bunch of steroids and like punching machines and computers. And I just sort of assume they were doing that to all their athletes back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, the 70s Olympics often get overlooked because, well, not 70, 72, 76 and 1980 are all very... There's shit going on in all of them because obviously 72 you've got the tragic murder of the Israeli athletes in Munich. 76 you had the African boycott because of New Zealand. I mean, you can't consider a modern world where New Zealand would be upsetting people, but they did, and therefore I think about 20 African countries refused to turn up for the 76 Olympics because of that. And then the 1980 Olympics was obviously in Moscow and America refused to go. And half the British team didn't go.
And now in 2026, we're going to have the one down in America where all the athletes from out of the country are sent to El Salvador for reasons unbeknownst to anyone.
Well, yeah, you've got a lot of fun going on in America because we've got the Olympics and the World Cup.
I guarantee you they're going to change that. I guarantee you they're going to move it somewhere else because there is no fucking way you can send athletes from all those different countries to that country the way things are right now without endangering their lives.
I think sometimes people overlook that FIFA don't really give a shit.
Okay, that's fair.
Right, you've got to remember, where was the last World Cup? Qatar. Where was the World Cup before that? Russia.
I mean, the thing is, like with Qatar and Russia, they have abysmal human rights records, but they weren't obviously renditioning tourists just for the sake of doing it. And I think that's the thing, if anything, that might deter them. It's not like, well, things in America are bad right now. Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, as you said, Qatar, yeah. But I just think like the fact that people coming into the country, some of them are just, because the minimum wage dude who is running the X-ray scanner decides that he is, he's feeling particularly fat today. He wants to fuck up someone's life. It's a hell of a situation to put athletes of different ethnicities who are being targeted by some of these, idiots into.
Yes. Well, at least the next one's somewhere more palatable. It's Spain, Portugal and Morocco. However, 2034, we'll be having this conversation again.
What's 2034?
Saudi Arabia.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. You've got to remember this is a country that had a women's conference with no women attending. So anyway, that's
the world's great. Up. Yep. We're going to take a quick break and cry while you listen to some ads.
On tour. Full disclosure. Although I've always thought the paranormal and the supernatural and the mythology behind it very interesting, I consider myself pretty sceptical about this stuff overall. Although I had one questionable experience when I was 12 at my cousin's house, which my family swore was haunted. I like my friend's mantra, that even if I don't believe in it, I won't fuck with the spirit world. But I digress. So I and two friends had two identical experiences in Montreal, each a year apart, that I can't explain. The context: we're in a band and we've toured Canada a few times. Our front person, M, considers herself a clairvoyant, claiming to have seen many ghosts in her life, as well as across family members on her mum's side. Our bassist, Spence, insists he and his dad had once seen ghosts at a Civil War memorial. So the first time touring Montreal, we stayed for 3 nights, and on the third, stayed in the living room of newfound friend Camille's apartment. Upon settling in, there were 3 couches, one larger one, lined along the far corner of the room. Spencer was on that one, a smaller one against the opposite wall leading into the kitchen where Emily slept, and then I on the adjacent one against the wall leading to the upstairs, which gave a view of both the couches to my left and right. And I found something very unsettling about the far left corner of the room, which viewed the largest couch along the left. Spence claimed that on and off throughout the night he'd also felt something odd about that corner, but didn't think much of it. Oh, and our drummer Jordan had slept on the floor, but he sleeps through everything. Around 5 o'clock on the dot, I woke up without reason, suddenly feeling like some dark figure as tall as the room was looming over Spencer from the corner, but I barely glanced over because I was super paranoid. The next morning, Spencer admitted that he'd had a very similar feeling earlier in the morning. Emily hadn't really felt anything, though she did say overall the apartment felt old. I went upstairs to use the bathroom and shower, and have the passing thought that if a city was to be haunted, Montreal would be no surprise, given that it's a pretty ancient one. I think so, at least. That was the end of that experience, and this was in August of 2018. It should also be noted that the apartment owners had 2 cats that were freaking out around that time in the morning, but cats are weird, so I didn't think anything was unusual about that. Fast forward to the following year, in April, and we're touring in Canada again, and Saturday night we're back at the same friend's apartment, crashing after the show. We had the same sleeping arrangements as before, and again something about that far left corner fell off. At this point I'd mostly forgotten the weirdness from last time we were there, because I don't have a great memory. But around 5 a.m. I woke up to 2 phone alarms going off, and I heard a stirring upstairs, and a roommate came down and grabbed his phone and ran back upstairs. Jordan's alarm was going off, but eventually went silent, and during these few minutes I heard Emily say, "What the fuck?" And I assume she's feeling what I'm feeling, and I'm really pissed off that I'd just been ripped wide awake. When we awoke later in the morning, however, she brought up how when the phones were going off, she rose to look and got freaked that she saw a huge dark figure in the corner looming over Spencer. He was a little nervous on hearing that, and then questioned if he felt anything odd, admitting that he could have. Just to clarify, with us being a touring band, spending extensive time with each other and ending up sleeping together in crash places for week on end, I don't think the notion that something was attached to any of us flies, because you'd figure we'd keep seeing it. I do wonder if it was just the shape of the apartment and coincidence, or if something odd really was happening.
I was thinking about that one, and it's interesting because when I had my own tall shadow encounter in Montreal in my apartment. I woke up that morning. We'd gone out to Lachine. My friend and I, we'd gone out for a drive, and Lachine is apparently very haunted. I couldn't find any specific stories from there, but I heard kind of from around, and it does have a very particular energy to it. But after that drive, I woke up from some kind of nightmare, and I kind of I was laying on my side. I rolled over and I gasped because this fucking shadow thing that looked like it was in a cloak was standing over me. And I went and it zooped back into the closet like it had been sucked up a vacuum, like the house in Poltergeist. Just bizarre stuff. I mean, that does sound like a location-specific haunting. I don't think that was them.
No, definitely. Well, I mean, like he said in the discussion about it, they're on tour all the time. They spend a lot of time together. They crash out in places all often. They'd be seeing it more often rather than 2 different people having the same experience in the same apartment.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The band thing reminded me of a band that I used to listen to quite a bit, and I sort of have a hard time with now because of some allegations that have been made against the lead singer. But are you familiar with the Arcade Fire?
Yes.
It reminded me there's a story, one of the stories behind the name of the band Arcade Fire, or behind the name Arcade Fire, was supposedly Butler used to be bullied by this kid in high school who would tell this story about an arcade that burned down, killing a bunch of people. And I was kind of chasing it up a little while ago, and it's interesting because it runs up into that urban legend that sort of inspired, I think, what's it called? There's that movie where the guy gets really good at video games and gets Last Starfighter. So that was kind of, I think Last Starfighter was sort of inspired by these rumors that the CIA was putting up video game arcades and shit like this and using them to sort of see who was good at puzzle solving and, who they could recruit among the youth. And of course, as I understand it, there is no truth to this, because I don't know that, deposing democratically elected South American leaders is in any way be informed by how good you are at Contra.
They clearly didn't see me play Cobra.
They would have had you toppling again.
Parachuting me into Nicaragua.
You and Ollie North. But yeah, so I thought it was just kind of interesting, like this confluence of urban legends of this arcade that burned down, which apparently never really happened. But also it got this other legend about the CIA having free arcades that would kind of allow them to profile up and coming geniuses, because the CIA is full of fucking geniuses. I thought it was kind of interesting how those two urban legends sort of meshed in the history of this once great band.
Yeah. Well, I know that's not true because they were using that for the secret space program, not for recruiting geniuses.
Oh, my mistake. We're deposing democratically elected governments on the moon.
Exactly. You've got it now. That's why there's so many. That's what Space Invaders is all about. It's just training us ready for the impending invasions.
God.
There are people that believe this, by the way.
Look at my face. 0% surprised.
And also, science fiction is a cover to drip feed the world's population about alien contact as well.
As a guy who used to date a young lady who herself and her family believed that The Matrix was a sneaky plot by space aliens or the fourth dimension prison warders to kind of tease us with the true nature of reality, I have no problem believing that mentally ill people have failed to maintain the barrier between reality and fantasy in science fiction.
Yes. It also seems to show a complete lack of knowledge about the genre of science fiction existing before cinema.
Yes.
Which I find... Well, you can't be that much of a science fiction fan. Surely.
No. There was that joke we told on a previous show, like the less you know about the world, the easier it is to believe conspiracy theories. Because, I mean, the Matrix wasn't even the only film to that year to posit the notion of of existing in a simulation. The 13th Floor came out the same year. And this shit just happens sometimes. There's these threads that go through. And yeah, like they hit sometimes on things that kind of catch the public consciousness. But I mean, the Lily and Lana Wachowski have said that they've always intended the Matrix as a trans allegory, which is fucking hilarious when you realize how many douche nozzles have picked up the red pill as part of their lingo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a strange correlation between the film's themes and the film's hardcore fans.
Yeah, which is one of the things I appreciated about the fourth one. Like, I didn't love the film, but I liked that she refused to give them the film they wanted. She refused to give them more murder and carnage and, fight the machine. And because they knew that someone was going to make a Matrix 4, it was going to happen regardless whether or not they were involved. So they got involved, and they made it a film about how some people will not let things end, and how the only real way to overcome these things is love.
A glitch story is called Wrong Way. My husband and I were in Montreal, and we got on the train at the terminal station, which means that the train only travels one way. That station was Longueuil University de Sherbrooke. We know we entered that station, and it was the only one near our hotel. Yet, when we got onto the actual train car, somehow we were 2 stations away, 2 islands away, at Barrie, and also travelling the wrong way. We had to get off and get onto the train headed into Montreal. This is literally impossible, and neither of us can explain it whatsoever. On the way back, just to be sure we didn't go to the wrong station, we got off at Barrie, and it was not the station we'd walked into, as our car was in fact parked back at de Sherbrooke. I can promise you I know the difference between getting lost and instantly being somewhere I never travelled to. The train car never moved. We stepped on it, it never moved, and we suddenly realised we weren't at the right station and got back off the car. When we got back off the car that had never moved, we were at a totally different station and our car wasn't parked there, and we had been on a train that was headed in the opposite direction back towards Université de Sherbrooke, which is a terminal station. We did not get on going the wrong way and space out and not realise where we were. This was instant. We were paying attention to where we were going, and we clearly knew which station we went into, since we found our car there. We entered into Sherbrooke, and suddenly in the 2 minutes it took us to walk through the station and onto the train, and the 20 seconds we spent on it, we were no longer at Sherbrooke. We were at Barrie, and heading back towards Sherbrooke. We didn't just miss our stop, we were headed the wrong way, back to where we came. We didn't just space out, because the train we were on never moved. We got on and had to hop right back off, because we realised we were at the wrong station suddenly. I was literally, look out this window, see Sherbrooke, turn away, look back, and we saw the signs for Barrie. What is going on? This is the wrong place. We ran out of the car before the doors closed and began to wander through a totally different station and had to change direction of travel, which, at the station we originally entered into, would have been impossible. We stayed at Hotel Brossard, which is only about a 10-minute drive to that train station, and we drove there from our hotel to the train station, which was the only one on the island, and parked there. Then, from there, we were taking the train across the island onto Montreal. If you're asking why we did this, it's because my husband was driving, and he doesn't read French, and driving in Montreal is crazy anyway, and he didn't want to drive in a touristy place where he couldn't read the road signs that have a lot of narrow runway streets. We decided to only drive on the freeways, which are pretty simple to navigate, and take the train to then walk around Montreal. We walked to the university station, but the train car we got onto was already at Barrie somehow, and going the wrong way. We had to get off, walk around the station to get to the train car going to Montreal, but our car wasn't at that station. It was at the station where there is only one way into Montreal. We arrived at the station by car, we walked into and through the station, we got on the train, and before the train even moved, we were at Barrie. It was literally no more than 10 to 20 seconds between getting on the car and realising we were not where we were supposed to be. We got off the train car that had never moved, and we were at a totally different station, and the train was going the opposite way, back towards the Université de Sherbrooke.
I cobbled that together out of a lot of different posts on the same thread, because a lot of folks were trying to pick holes in this. And basically they tried to say, like, you didn't realize the train was moving, and there's a local and express, but these people were adamant that suddenly they were in the wrong place and going the wrong direction. And it's a fair distance at the station they're talking about, Barrie-UQAM. Like, it's a distance from Sherbrooke. So it's strange to think that they would just suddenly be in the wrong place. That one really freaks me out. That's the kind of glitch in the Matrix shit that I mean, that's more missing time than anything.
It is.
But I guess if you're not familiar with the concept of missing time, you're going to post it in a place like glitch.
Very true. Very true. I mean, the thing is, as well, I'd like to know how long that journey should take.
That is a 10-minute ride on the metro from Longueuil to Barrie-UQAM. So you feel that that's a long trip. Like when our listener Chris and his wife Nikki, when they had me out to their place at dinner, or when they had me out to their place for dinner, I took the metro a long way, and you feel it, right? Like it's not an unpleasant thing, but you're aware the fucking train is moving. I can't imagine being on the metro and not being aware that it was moving.
Oh, there's no way you can be on a train, especially if there's two of you. No.
I think it's cool as shit. Like, again, this is one of those stories I wanted, even though it was fractured, I wanted to include it because I found it genuinely exciting. Because, like I said, there is a liminal quality to parts of the metro. There is, and actually, I should point out, Barrie-UQAM, that station, outside that station, remember when I was living there and I had that dream about getting into a fight with a guy and going to jail for 30 days? It was the next day at Barrie-UQAM station that the guy came up to me and tried to provoke me into a fight. Yeah. I really got into a coffee shop called Le Grain Brûlée.
What?
Which apparently is
Le Grain Brûlée. Oh, because that just makes...
No. No, Le Grain Brûlée. And actually, if you look at the cover art for this episode, folks, there is a heart, some graffiti and a heart. That's actually from inside of Le Grain Brûlée. It was my favorite coffee shop in Montreal. But yeah, I would get off. I would actually just walk half the time. I just walked from my apartment because I lived it was a long walk. It was about a 45-minute, 50-minute walk, but I was healed and I was living in a city that was amazing. So I didn't give a shit. But yeah, so it was that same station where they had that weird experience where I had that weird sort of the dream come true, or at least like have the opportunity for a dream to come true. Because in the dream, the guy again provoked me into fighting him, and then cops only saw me do what I did. They didn't see the provocation. And I went to jail for 30 days in the dream. And like I said, the next day at Barrie-UQAM, this guy walks up to me, puts his finger in my face and goes like, moves his thumb like he's firing a gun. And he was very clearly like, he wanted me to fucking take a swing at him. And I looked and there was a cop car prowling up. So when I had swung at him, that's all they would have seen.
So what you're saying, he was a copper in disguise then?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Probably needed one more arrest for a prize.
There we go. Well, I'll let you folks imagine me in my own version of that Stallone film, Lock Up. And while you do that, we're going to take a break for some ads. Our final ghost story for tonight is called Bad Omens. These hauntings took place over the span of 10 years. From the time I was 12 to 22, I was haunted every day of my life. It all began in the summer of 1993 when my family and I moved into our duplex. From the moment we set foot inside, I felt watched, but other than that, nothing else happened. After 6 months, this all changed. The first paranormal thing I can remember was hearing disembodied voices coming from the basement. It always seemed like a conversation was going on. However, as time went on, the voices became more aggressive, and it seemed that a male voice was yelling. Even our cat refused to go downstairs. Then the cupboards of the kitchen would open at night. My bedroom was near the kitchen, and I would hear it open and close all night. I would get up to check, thinking it might be one of my brothers, but it would always be empty in there. I would close the cupboards again, but they would be open in the morning. My brothers would complain that they could hear rattling glass coming again from the kitchen. Then things escalated quickly, as his presence was becoming physical. One day, my father was at his office when he heard banging and voices coming from the playroom next door. He assumed it was one of us kids, got off his chair and went outside. As he peered his head out, a metal hanger was thrown at him. It was thrown with such force that it actually dented the wall. At this point, my father was livid and ready to scold, but he saw he was by himself in the basement. In fact, nobody was home. The violence progressed to the point where we woke up with bruises and scratches almost on a daily basis. My parents thought it must have been the cat, but the scratches continued after he was given away. It felt as if the presence was becoming bolder. We would see shadow people moving around our home from room to room. One day my mom thought she saw my brother going into their closet. She said she saw the door shut. She approached the door and said, "I see you." When she opened the door, it was empty. It got really intense after that. I would hear walking around my bed coming closer and closer, and heavy breathing. I was petrified of the night because I knew that it would happen. The worst happened one night when my sister was in my room. She was asleep in the bed next to me when I heard footsteps. I put the covers over my head to avoid seeing whatever it was. Then, as the steps grew closer, I heard rattling, like keys, and again heaving breathing, but this time I could feel the hot breath over me, and my covers were thrown off. I lost it and began to scream. My mother came in furious. I explained what happened, but she didn't believe me. My sister, however, she told me years later that she had heard it too. I asked her why she hadn't said anything to my mother, but she was afraid to say anything in case a spirit got mad. After this, I started to pray every day for help, and as I did, the haunting became less intense around me. I got involved in the church, and after talking to our local priest, he agreed to do a blessing. But when the day came, his car broke down mysteriously. Then he got sick and left the church. Sometimes I wonder if what was in my home had anything to do with it. As time went on, the haunting seemed to disappear when my sister got sick. She developed anorexia and would walk for hours. One day my mom felt a sudden urgency to take her to the hospital, but when she searched for her hospital cards and ID, they were missing. My mother didn't care about having to pay out of pocket for the visit. Once she was at the hospital, the doctors soon found that my sister's heart was super slow, and she was taken in for intensive care. The doctors said had my mom waited just a couple more hours, she would have gone into cardiac arrest and probably died at home. When my mom called, the cards reappeared on the table. I was crying because I knew something wanted to prevent my sister from getting help. She had a long stay and was in and out of hospital for years. The hauntings resumed until I got married. I moved to Laval and I finally found peace until I realized that something followed me, but that's a story for another time. My brothers said that the hauntings continued after I left until my parents had enough and moved away. We still talk about it from time to time and wonder if the people who bought the place are okay. And that is a really bleak note to end the ghost stories on. Like, that seems like a particularly fucking evil haunting.
That's really uplifted us all at the end there.
Good Lord. Like, that seems like it wanted to cause harm.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. Malevolent.
Yeah, exactly that. See, folks, you got it in one try that time. I just finished reading this book called Tell Me Pleasant Things About Immortality by a Canadian author named Lindsay Wong. And I am convinced at this point that if you want truly unpleasant, transgressive body horror, you have to find something created by a woman. They just seem to have a much greater handle on the depth to which that genre can take you. Like The Substance, Coralie Farget's The Substance. Incredible film, incredible piece of body horror, truly unsettling in places, written, directed by a woman.
The previous film was the same.
I'm actually not familiar. Was it Revenge?
Yeah, I watched Revenge after seeing The Substance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's, yeah. Yeah, it's a bit, yeah, it's one of them where you're like, go on, kill him more. Kill him again.
It's a little bit like I Spit on Your Grave or something like that.
Oh, no, it's far better than that.
Oh, okay, yeah. But that's sort of that kind of revenge type movie?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, right. Yeah, very, very similar theme to What Causes It.
Right, gotcha. Okay, yeah, I struggle with those movies, like Miss 45 or anything in that genre, like They Call Her One Eye. What was it? That one had a different name, They Call Her One Eye.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't remember what it was called.
That one was finally just restored in 4K in its uncut version. I didn't pick it up. It's not really, again, not really my thing. Oh, and actually, before we get to the glitches, I forgot to mention that our listener, Chris, who, as I mentioned, as I spoke about earlier, him and his wife had me over to their house for dinner. And they're actually going to be in Toronto in the coming week, so I'll be meeting them for dinner there as well. Chris sent us a message and he said, in the most recent episode where there's a story that took place in Saint Anne de Bellevaux, it happens to be on the campus of John Abbott College, where I attended college in 2004 to 2007. If the individual was living in the dorms there, called Britton Hall, then there are stories about that building being haunted. That and one of the main buildings on campus as well. I remember having conversations with one of my teachers who was into this stuff, and he was looking into stories of the haunting. So we got some confirmation of the stories from our Quebec episode.
Intriguing.
So thank you, Chris. All right, so this one is called The Midas Touch. This is one I'm not totally sure about, but I just kind of wanted to get Paul's take on this.
Yeah, it's not my favourite Atlantic Star single, I have to say. Oh, sorry.
We'll do a whole episode on Europop.
80s soul pop.
Oh, pardon me.
Come on, get with it, man.
This happens so many times in my life, and yet feels so real it sounds totally insane. All throughout my 20s, when I was living in Montreal, instead of hanging out with my high school friends, watching movies, studying, or doing what most 20s people do at night, I would walk the streets alone. I didn't even know why, it was just an instinct. Almost every night I would meet some very strange people when there was no one else around. No cars, no lights in houses, no noise. Strange as in they looked very lost and hopeless. Some were clearly addicts, but others looked normal, just with something really off about them. Another strange thing is that there was never any fear or danger in the air when these meetings happened, even in that dark setting. There was always a feeling in my gut that I was meant to meet those people, to help them. They probably didn't know they were there either, guided by their subconscious like I was. But the thing is, it was not said in words that I could help them. It just felt like all they needed was a few moments of eye contact or a bit of walking around and small talk, and my presence. Every time we parted ways, something strongly felt like I had accomplished a mission. But what, though? The punchline to all of this is that I would meet those same people many years later, totally at random during the day, and they looked very happy, healthy, and were with friends or family. You could just say that's life, but the glitch for me is that I felt in their eyes and smiled that I made a difference that weird night. But how? I didn't give them money or told them what to do or stayed in contact with them. This also happened to many bad, damaged houses of poor people being nicely renovated and healthy years after I went there, even for just a few hours. It just feels very glitchy even now, 20-some years later. And this sounds like someone who has become insane, thanks to ChatGPT. ChatGPT has convinced him that he's like a god or something. He is the Elohim among us walking on Earth. But I wanted to get your take on that.
Bollocks.
Yeah. This sounds like a guy who's just created a mythology around himself.
Yes. I am the resurrection. I would imagine this chap's going to start his own cult in about 10 years, if he hasn't already.
I mean, yeah, it was a pretty old story, so it's very possible.
Was it written by a man called Rael?
Rael would never take the time to go on Reddit himself. He would have someone do it for him.
I went around and gave all these people mirrors.
Well, it's better what the Dutch guy gave him.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm going to go with yeah.
Jury's out here, I'm afraid.
Maybe I got to watch more of that documentary. I've only watched the first episode so far.
Come back to me when you've watched it all and then say what you think.
Okay, that's fair. So yeah, we're on the same page with this guy. ChatGPT has made him crazy. I tell you, man, I am disturbed by the number of people I know who just casually mention, well, I asked ChatGPT and they said this. I find it alarming, I got to say.
I've never used it.
Well, no, I don't fucking use it. But the number of people who've told me, like, oh, well, I asked ChatGPT, like, nope, that's not really what that is. But okay, they'll use it for therapy? This is not good. It's all the way bad, man. It just predicts what should come next in a sentence. It's not thinking. It doesn't think. It's just a probability model. It takes in information, it takes in trillions of pieces of information and looks at how they're constructed. And so when you ask something, it just compares it against everything it's got stored and kind of predicts what it's meant to say next based on everything else it's seen. It's not thinking about anything.
Mm.
But these people talk about it like it's a person. It scares the shit out of me.
Well, I suppose some people somewhere would suggest that's exactly what it's been designed to do.
What, to pacify and stupefy people?
Yes.
I mean, they've certainly succeeded beyond my wildest expectations. So good on you, evil overlords, I guess.
It's one of those things. It's like I've noticed there seems to be a certain demographic of people of a certain age who have no concept of what fucking AI is and what it isn't.
Oh, 100%. I honestly, I think there's a lot of people because there is so much money invested in AI, which is to close this out, like, it is an industry with no path to profitability. They're burning hundreds of billions of dollars to make tens of billions, not even tens, like single digit billions. It's a grift. It's a grift. It's the last growth model that they can think of. It's the last growth market that they've figured out. But when I say growth, it's just money they can pour into it. It cannot make money the way it is now. It simply cannot.
Well, I'm glad we don't have these bubbles that people invest billions and billions and billions in that suddenly pop. I mean, it just never happens.
And on that uplifting note, we bring our Montreal show to an end. We hope you've enjoyed it. I wanted to blab so much more about how much I love Montreal, because I do. And if you have a Montreal ghost story, I know we have some listeners out there. As I mentioned, Chris and Nikki are out there. Jen is out there. I got a chance to hang out with her when I was there. Billy is out there as well. I got a chance to meet with her. And so if you have any Montreal stories that we missed, send it to us at ghoststoryguys@gmail.com. We will share them on an upcoming show, either a Talk Spooky or a story show. And any other stories you have, get them in, because our wet, hot Canadian summer is almost over. We have Vancouver and the Maritimes left. And then we're going to be doing a series of listener story episodes for October. And we would love, love, love to have your stories in. So send us your spooky encounters at ghoststoryguys@gmail.com.
Especially if you've had your head pulled off in the Uncanny Valley.
Nahanni Valley. Although the Uncanny Valley, too. I'm just imagining the Polar Express, the conductor, just Bigfoot's ripping his head off. Have to see if we maybe get some stories from maybe we'll have to extend the Canadian thing by one more episode if we can find enough stories of people up in the Nahanni Valley getting their heads pulled off.
I'm thinking there's at least 6, isn't there? Which is 6 too many. In my opinion.
We might have to just do a BC episode. Okay. Well, folks, at least Vancouver and the Maritimes, maybe BC. Either way, send us your stories. We would love to hear them and share them on a show. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hey there, listeners. Before you reach for that skip 15 seconds ahead button, I promise you this isn't an ad. We wanted to take a minute to talk to you about mental health. On this show, I've always tried to be as honest and open as possible about my struggles with depression and anxiety, because even though we've come a long way towards acknowledging the very real damage these things can do, there is still way too much lingering stigma about reaching out for help.
And when you start to feel like there's no help, it's easy to start feeling like there's no hope. But Paul has joined me today to remind you there is always hope and there's always help.
We're not going to try and talk you out of self-harming right now, because we know that's not how it works. Instead, what we wanted to do was tell you something now and hope that should things get bad, you'll remember it and make a phone call or send a text message before you make any permanent decisions. As someone who knows all too well just how important mental health can be, it's never too late to reach out.
In Canada, the number to call is 133-456-4566. In the USA, the new number to call is 988. That's 988.
In the UK, the number to call is 116123 or text SHOUT, that's SHOUT, to 85258. In Australia, the number to call is 131114.
However bad shit seems, it will pass. And no matter what your brain might be telling you at any given moment, and believe me when I say I know this intimately, there are people who love you and people who care deeply about how you treat yourself. Should a time come when you find yourself despairing, please know that we've both been where you are, and there is a way back to the world. Take care.
Welcome back. The Ghost Story Guys are Luke Greensmith, who helps us find our stories. He's also host of the Luke Lore podcast, available everywhere fine podcasts live. Tanya Downing, who helps manage our Facebook community. Sarah Kent, who helps manage our Reddit community.
Our paranormal conductor is Mr. Brennan Storr.
And of course, my friend and co-host is the one, the only, the inimitable Paul Bestel, the paranormal Johnny Carson himself, host of Mysteries and Monsters. Paul, what's coming up on M&M?
I welcome back Kevin J. Gould with the second volume of his wonderful collection of American strangeness. So we talk about meteors that look like hands, lost urban myths, scary stories from the South that don't seem to be spoken about anymore, and probably the birth of the haunted automobile stories in North America.
Very cool. And where can everyone find you online?
You can find Mysteries and Monsters across most social media websites and as well as all good podcast sites.
Fabulous. I'm Largely the Truth on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. And you can find my horror fiction show, Fear Daily, everywhere fine podcasts live. And of course, as we said at the top of the show, we couldn't do this without our patrons. Without you fine folks, this machine simply would not go. And if you would like to get access to bonus shows, extra conversations between myself and Paul, early ad-free release, and live shows, and way, way more, follow the link in the show notes or head to patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. That's patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. Or become a friend of the cabin on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. And of course, if you become a patron at the $20 level and above, well, my fine feathered friends, that makes you part of an elite club. That makes you part of a little something we like to call Ghost Force. That's right. Patrons at the $20 level and above are part of Ghost Force, the most elite club that I'm legally allowed to admit that I'm part of. Paul, I'm not sure where I'm going with that. You know what? It came out and then I immediately regretted it.
Story of my life.
That's why they didn't want to let me into that museum.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, you dirty bugger.
This time around, the members of Ghost Force are
Ethan Saragon,
Amy Chamberlain,
Charles Wood,
Crazy Mom Canada,
CT,
Dexterous,
Eric Abel,
Gabrielle Hollanders,
Hannah Brown,
Jane Moores,
Janani Bananani,
Johnny Bonanani, Johnny Bonanani, Jason R. Slaughter,
Jennifer Mullen,
Jessica Dunphy,
Joseph Como,
Kissing Kate Barlow,
Liam Hudak,
Mara Noriega,
Mark Semler,
Merlin Hansen,
Michelle Randall,
Peter Gunn 08.5,
Robin Teen,
Ruckin' Ronnie Shenanigans,
Scrapbot 13,
Shannon Steyer,
Trent Cannon.
You are the few, you are the spooky, you are Ghost Force. Folks, we appreciate all our patrons, but Ghost Force, you guys are nuts, and we love you for it. If you want to have your name read out there every second story episode, that's once a month. Here on Ghost Story Guys, sign up at Patreon, follow the link in the show notes, or head to patreon.com/ghoststoryguys and sign up to become a friend of the cabin, or sign up to become a member of Ghost Force. Paul, my friend, any guest spots coming up?
No, I have just done an interview with the guys organising Parameet, which is available through the Parameet YouTube channel, and I did that earlier this week. So if you want a sneak preview of what I'm going to be talking about at the end of September, then search them out and you can listen to me wittering on about that for an hour.
Very cool. Well, again, I will find that and I'll put that up at our blog at ghoststoryguys.com. Again, you'll find all our guest spots linked there. I've got 2 booked. I haven't done them yet. I've got a spot coming up. I'm going to be filling in for Sarge over on Cryptid Cocktail next week. And I've got a spot coming up, unrecorded as of yet, on Jason Hewlett's show.
Woo!
Yeah. If you want to pick up some Ghost Story Guys merch, head to our website at ghoststoryguys.com. We have all kinds of cool stuff. We got t-shirts, stickers, in all manner of designs, including my favorite, the inimitable Paul Bestel, in which Paul is illustrated to look like Mighty Thor. Again, that's ghoststoryguys.com for all your merch needs. And of course, if you want to send us a photo of you all dolled up in your Ghost Story Guys duds, please do so. ghoststoryguys@gmail.com, and we will put it on our social media if you would like. If you would not like, let us know, and we will honor that as well. Our theme song, Radio, Into the Darkness We Go, is composed and performed by Peter Kursov of Pizzanta Music. Find more from him by searching for Pizzanta Music wherever you get your tunes. And I guess that's going to do it.
We'll be back next week, but until then...
Oh, I had to stop myself from doing a really ham-bone French accent there. Into the darkness we go before I get us into trouble.
Oh, I've done it again. It's a good party, that. Somebody nicked 3 doors and went sledging.
Jesus
Took the kitchen apart. And got up in the morning, there was no drawers in the kitchen. Somebody taken them. They dismantled all the drawers and gone.
Is there any point to me asking why?
For a laugh.
I deserve that. That was a stupid question. Magic 8 Ball, is this a good way to end our movie? You're a fucking moron. Well... Like, I've known a couple guys a long time ago who've donated. Let's just say that you're not getting top quality material.
For the man who doesn't like to give blood to buy his beer with.
Yep.
It's written in English and get pronounced in English. Into the darkness we go. My little petit pois.
This time you can be mad at Paul.
I don't care. Agincourt.